So far, we have talked a lot about chimpanzee and human similarities in regards to many subjects, including their evolutionary origins, their physical anatomy, and their diet. But when we first looked into the eyes of chimpanzees at Gombe, one additional big question leapt out at us. What are they thinking? Given that their faces so much resemble our own, it is natural to wonder if they have a mind like ours too. Those piercing brown eyes of theirs certainly seem anything but vacant. Questions about what and how they think, any memory, problem solving skills, etc., fall under the topic of cognition. This is an area that is much more difficult to learn about through natural observations alone, although some important insights have been made this way. Scientists have also done lots of experiments where chimps are asked to perform specific tasks in order to study their mental capabilities. When it comes to how chimpanzees understand the physical world around them, scientists have reason to believe that they perceive it in a way very similar to how we do. Chimpanzees perform really well in tasks that ask them to categorize objects, to understand the permanence of objects, to plan for future events based on past experiences, and even to make inferences about the state of one object based on the state of another. For example, in one experiment, a chimpanzee knew that food was inside one of two cups and could then correctly choose the food after watching a human shake one of the cups. Along this same line, chimpanzees have shown a great aptitude for using tools to manipulate other objects in their natural environment. We were lucky enough to witness tool use for ourselves when we saw chimpanzees using twigs to fish for termites. Perhaps even more impressive than tool use is tool making, which we also got to observe. A chimp would walk a distance away from the termite mound, choose a twig from the brush, then carefully remove the leaves from the twig and/or break the twig to make it shorter. Then, by inserting this new tool into a termite mound, it could withdraw lots of tasty insects it wouldn't otherwise be able to reach. Other examples of tool use shown by chimpanzees include making sponges out of leaves to collect water to drink and using rocks to smash fruit or break open nutshells. In addition, chimps are also good at solving problems in laboratory settings by using tools. In one now famous experiment, different chimps used a variety of tools, like crates and long poles, to reach bananas that had been placed just out of their reach. Tool use is also a great example of culture and social learning in chimpanzees. Culture refers to behaviors that are characteristic of particular social groups. For example, while we saw some chimps in Gombe fishing for termites, we did not see this behavior in another national park, Mahale, even though there were plenty of termite mounds around for those chimps to use. Instead, we saw the Mahale chimps fishing for ants in a tree trunk. But culture doesn't have to involve tool use like this. It can include particular behaviors involving grooming, like two chimps holding hands above their heads while picking insects off each other, or even something as small as preferring one type of fruit over another. These preferences or ways of doing things are passed from individual to individual, and especially from one generation to the next, by means of social learning. One chimp will often watch another chimp performing the action and then imitate that same action themselves. Another big aspect of cognition is how an individual perceives oneself and then relates oneself to others. When you look in a mirror, you immediately know that you are looking at an image of yourself. But if you have a pet like a cat, dog, or bird, you might have noticed that they don't appear to recognize themselves in mirrors. Instead, they act like there is another animal looking back at them, and they try to interact with that animal in a social context, possibly by trying to initiate play or getting defensive and trying to get the other animal to leave. It is actually only a few species besides humans that can pass a mirror self-recognition test, and the chimpanzee is one of them. Since mirrors are not naturally occurring objects, this kind of information is gained from laboratory experiments. Passing the mirror self-recognition test requires seeing a painted spot on you in your reflection, and then touching yourself at that spot to investigate it. While it wasn't an actual mirror test, since the chimps weren't marked, we did get to see them trying to look at their own reflections in some glass fixtures at one of the lodges we stayed at. It wasn't clear to us if these particular chimps actually recognized themselves in the very distorted reflections, but it was certainly exciting to see them investigating the images nonetheless. Some scientists argue that chimpanzees have a theory of mind. This is a very abstract concept, but it generally means that you can recognize that you have a mind, and that other individuals also have minds, and that those individuals experience and think about the world in a way similar to the way you do. In many ways, chimpanzees do appear to have a theory of mind, but one not quite as sophisticated as that in humans. For example, in experiments, chimpanzees often recognize when another chimp does or does not know something, but they have a hard time understanding when they see others believing something that they know cannot be true. Theory of mind is part of a larger category of cognition called social cognition, which is very important in the lives of chimps. They are very social and political creatures with clear hierarchies or rankings of importance. In order to climb the social ladder, a chimp must be able to understand the relationships and behaviors of other chimpanzees. Male chimps especially keep careful tabs on who is friendly with whom and how they should interact with each other in order to maximize their own rankings. After seeing such intelligence behind so many aspects of chimpanzee behavior, you can't help but wonder what actually sets us apart from them. And there's no denying it. Despite the many, many similarities, there are still vast differences between human societies and chimpanzee communities. As mentioned earlier, it appears that our perceptions and understanding of the physical world are not all that different. Rather, it is in the field of social cognition that we really diverge. Chimpanzees showcase amazing social cognitive abilities when it comes to competition. These same abilities are also present in humans, but even more than that, humans show an amazing aptitude for cooperation. We are hardwired from an extremely early age to want to work with others, to do things the way those around us do, and to communicate with others about general knowledge and discoveries. Evolutionarily, this has led to our great propensity for learning abstract symbolic languages and even more complex understandings of the physical world. While cooperation has been observed in chimpanzees, both in natural and laboratory settings, competition is a much more common category of social interaction for them.